inviting me to this interesting and timely workshop, because it shows that the government of Kerala is willing and open to discussion and views from outside. So I'm really delighted to know about this. And all sessions in the morning have been on energy. I'm not an energy expert. However, I'm an urban economist by training, and I was recently India country expert for ADB's project on green urbanization in Asia, for which the ADB requested me to come up with the biggest urban environmental challenges for India's cities. And I looked at some evidence on carbon emissions. Mr. Vasan earlier, I was delighted to note that he also talked a little bit about carbon emissions. What I noted was that, can anybody guess which is the maximum carbon emitting city in the world? It is Palo Alto, California, at about 9.8 metric tons per capita. Okay, so if you want to really understand how Indian cities are contributing to this, there was a survey done by ICLAI, the International Council of Local Environmental Initiatives, in which 48 cities from India were included, and they found that the maximum carbon emitting Indian city was actually Faridabad, Haryana, at about 1.89 metric tons per capita, and the average carbon emissions per capita in Indian cities was only 1.18 metric tons per capita, which was actually way below what Palo Alto is emitting, or some other cities like Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, are emitting, for example. So we concluded that the biggest environmental challenge in urban areas for India is not really carbon emissions, given the state of manufacturing in this country, but it is solid waste management and sanitation. So with that, I would like to, so that is basically the connection, I guess, between energy, the crisis. So I do agree with earlier experts who talked about energy demand, energy supply, and the move to more renewable energy sources. So that I definitely agree, but we should be viewing solid waste management and sanitation as much bigger challenges compared to carbon emissions. So with that, I would like to look at, give you an overview of my presentation. When the KSIDC invited me to make this presentation, there was a request, specific request, asking me to come up with some solutions to a clean environment and solid waste management in Kerala. I do agree with the earlier gentleman, the very first gentleman who spoke this morning from Accenture. He just when he was talking about that, I entered, I came late. He was saying that there is no one size fits all. So my answer is the same. So there is no ready-made solution that we can borrow from some other state or some other country and just apply it to Kerala, but it is all very, very context specific, to reiterate what the earlier speakers had already said. So what does the context basically tell us? You cannot view solid waste management in isolation of city or state's per capita income, and that is the reason why I look at global trends in waste management by level of economic development, and then whatever solutions you want to propose for a city or a state is not independent of the characteristics of waste. What are the characteristics, what is the composition, physical composition, what is it that you can do with it? And there was actually very little discussion I found this morning about the financial capabilities of municipal governments to handle solid waste management. So I want to talk a little bit about that. And as all of you know, Bangalore underwent a solid waste crisis last year in August, beginning from August. So I would like to draw some lessons from that crisis to know what is it that Kerala can do better. And finally, I would like to summarize my the challenges and the solutions. So as I said, you cannot, with increasing incomes, your lifestyle changes, your consumption habits change, which is a reason why you expect, and your literacy rate increases, which is the reason why you expect the solid waste generated to increase, but there also has to be generation, collection and disposable mechanisms. So here, for example, this is some data that came out of a survey done by United Cities and Local Governments, which is based out of Barcelona, and as she kindly introduced me, this is based on a chapter I wrote on solid waste management for the Global Report on Local Governance and Democracy 3 for the Asia Pacific region. So this is based on that survey, and you can see that in the Asia Pacific region, the advanced countries are Australia, New Zealand and others, Korea and a few others. Developing is India, China, and there are a few, Vietnam, there are a few other countries. And in the less developed countries list, you have Nepal, Bangladesh and a few other countries there. And you will find that there is no surprise for the advanced countries, and the survey of 100 mayors throughout the region showed that like 100% of the advanced cities in the advanced countries reported solid waste management coverage of their population to the extent of greater than 40%. This is no surprise. However, developing countries like India, on average, I'm even surprised, they reported 84% coverage, and it was the least for less developed countries and cities like Hanoi and Nepal, Kathmandu and Dhaka, Bangladesh and so forth. So this is one quick lesson that we want to learn. So this is another quick slide from the same group of surveys on the coverage of informal settlements with solid waste management when you look at the same countries by the same level of economic development. Again, you will find that interestingly, developing countries are the ones which are actually more sensitive to coverage of informal settlements with solid waste management services. This is because they know how to handle informal settlements. They know that solid waste management can be really difficult to handle there. So door-to-door collection and all are much better in developing countries rather than in the advanced countries where they are not used to having all these informal settlements and their coverage with solid waste management. And as you can expect, the less developed countries were the worst there also. And now, how do I relate this to the situation in Kerala? This is a study that Padma Shri, Dr. Samuel Paul and I are working on the paradox of India's north-south divide, where we are looking at some trends in per capita, human capability, skills, awareness, and a lot of indicators, and we find that the South Indian states consisting of the four, Kerala, Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh and Tamil Nadu, rose very rapidly at the beginning of the 1990s, late part of 1980s to be more precise. And here you will find that Kerala is the blue line. I think that is actually the lightest here. So you will find that the average per capita NSDP of the North Indian states, the Bimaru states, Bihar, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh and Uttar Pradesh, was actually at a lower trajectory, and you will find that beginning from this year, it was a steady takeoff. So what we understand from this here is that one of the important determinants of solid waste management, which is income, has always been growing very rapidly since the 1990s in Kerala and other South Indian states. So that is actually a precondition for good solid waste management practices. Now, the second condition, literacy rate. And we always know that Kerala has been a leader as far as literacy rate is concerned. So with this, it is actually, so it has yet another precondition in place for good solid waste management practices. I'll tell you what other things are needed here in Kerala in addition to this when we review what went wrong in actually Bangalore. Now, so when you look at this, a profile of Indian cities by per capita waste generation. So you will see that progressively the number of cities generating less waste has been actually declining, and you will see that the number of cities which are increasing in per capita generation of waste is actually increasing. So this is really a function of rising per capita income, changing lifestyles, change in consumption habits, and so forth. So when you look at Kerala, what do you find? Kerala actually follows a very similar pattern which is consistent with the national trends. You will find that, for example, this is Kollam, Kochi, Thrissur and Kozhikode. You will find that this is actually the lower end of the 477 grams per capita daily, right? And this is the highest, Kochi is the highest, 482 grams per capita daily. And when you compare it with this distribution here, so this is basically that range that we place all of Kerala cities in, right? So it is at the front end of the distribution of cities in terms of solid waste. So it is still not very bad in terms of like other cities here. For example, a recent FICCI study, Federation of Indian Chambers of Commerce and Industry, showed that even the biggest cities in the country did not have a sanitary landfill. Okay, so in that sense, Kerala is very well placed because all its cities are basically in this range. Okay, so now when we look at the characteristics of waste by type in Indian cities, actually this is from a World Bank study by Dazu et al. And what you will find is that the good news here is that 55% of it is organic, in the sense that a lot of earlier speakers talked about waste to energy. So this can be easily converted to energy as long as the necessary technology is in place. And a further 15% here is recyclable. It's paper and other things, right? And it's only this is really the bad news, and you need to find a way of safely disposing of this. So now, how does this waste type, the physical composition of waste for Indian cities compare with that in Kerala cities? When you look at compostable organics, so this is the 72% on average, taking a cross section of about 5 cities in Kerala. So this is 72%, which is much larger than the average for Indian cities. So which is good news, which can be converted into energy. And the paper, which is recyclable, accounts for another 7%. So this is really good news for us here in Kerala, right? So very consistent with the national picture, but actually better. So now, the other part I would like to focus on here is the finances, because most of solid waste management in Indian cities is taken care of by urban local bodies, which are severely hard pressed for funds to do their function. So when you look at some cities around the world, actually primarily in Asia, you will find this is their per capita expenditure in US dollars on solid waste management, and this is their per capita GNP, and this is the proportion of their GNP that they are spending on solid waste management. And the situation is really very bleak given the basic nature of the service. You know, we have data from only one country here, 0.71%. So that is less than 1% of their GNP on solid waste management in Madras, Chennai. And you will find that all cities, so looking at this, the World Bank said that, look here, this is a norm. So no city is spending more than this. So let's make 0.5% of GNP the norm for spending on solid waste management. Out of curiosity, I mean, I didn't have data on any other city. This data is very, very difficult to get, as probably the urban experts here would know. Bangalore solid waste management for the budget for 2011-12 was $9.2 million, which translates to 0.001% of India's GNP for that year. So we are spending nowhere near what it takes us to make our cities clean, right? So, one solution which I would like to talk about here is that you would also probably imagine that there is no adequate data on solid waste, what is generated, what is collected, and what is safely disposed. And even international agencies like the World Bank, the ADB, they accept in all their publications that this is based on the number of trucks and the weight of every truck. So they are all basically guesstimates, and there is not even a database which tells us what is the solid waste management collection efficiency in every Indian city. So without knowing that, how do we really go about formulating sustainable policies for making these cities clean? Now, you look at what are the estimates of solid waste management costs if you want to make them really clean. These are some estimates, and you will see that India is in this slot, it's a lower middle income country, and what explains open dumping in India cities? See, this is the cheapest option, right? So cheapest is open dumping $3 to $10. So per ton. So that's the reason why all these cities do that. And the most expensive option here is the waste to energy incineration, which is $40 to $100. So this explains why this has not taken off in a very big way in Indian cities. And I mean, this is even worse, but there's some data which is not available, but this definitely explains. So the question is, how can we go about making this more accessible to the cities, right? The answers will be, so this is a picture from the high-powered expert committee on infrastructure. It made some estimation of requirements for capital expenditure in various urban sectors, and that includes solid waste management. And here is solid waste management at 1.6% of $619 billion that it predicted would be needed. So even this one, we are not able to really adhere to this World Bank norm of 0.5% of your GNP. So the question is, how can you make financing a viable option for financing our clean cities? Now, I would like to just draw a few lessons from the solid waste management crisis which affected Bangalore last year, which started from August. So this all stemmed from the directive of the Karnataka State Pollution Control Board, which said that there was a landfill site called Mavallipura, which is a village north of the city, and that has to be closed because all these villagers were complaining that they were getting a very unhygienic consequences because of the existence of the landfill site over there. So the Pollution Control Board ordered its closure, and the city had no option, and all residents started dumping all the waste on the roadside. So it was truly a crisis. And in the case of Surat, Gujarat, it was a crisis that made the city clean. So we are all hoping that this crisis will make Bangalore clean also. But what did the crisis basically indicate? One lesson which the crisis indicated was that 40% of the total waste was generated by bulk generators like commercial and industrial establishments, markets, flowers, fruits, vegetables, and meat, poultry, and so forth. But in the case of Kerala, I have looked at some composition of waste, but I think it is less than about 20% in the case of Kerala, the importance of bulk generators. And also, another thing which this crisis in Bangalore highlighted was that segregation of waste at source into dry, wet, garden, hazardous, domestic, and so forth. So now we all in Bangalore strictly follow segregation of waste so that you are easily in a position to convert the organic after removing the wet content into energy, depending on the technology available. And there's another lesson which was learnt, which was that we have really ignored the role of the urban poor, such as rag pickers, into formal models of solid waste management. And that is what actually this crisis also indicated. I am also editing a Springer book on urban governance, in which there is one entire chapter on how rag pickers have been ignored in the Municipal Corporation of Delhi for their contribution to solid waste management. And the Municipal Corporation of Delhi kept denying that rag pickers were really helping this, because they were afraid that the Municipal Corporation employees and the Paura Karmikas there would lose their jobs. So we need to recognize community participation and the role of the urban poor in making this happen. So now, what I would like to highlight is that what are the primary challenges? A primary challenge is definitely financing. How do we get the funds? Yeah, I won't even take 5. I mean, this is my penultimate slide. So primary challenge is financing. So yet another very big challenge is planning. the Bangalore crisis indicated how planning is important. So why did the Karnataka State Pollution Control Board order the closure of its landfill site? Because it was not really planned that villagers would move into that site and ask them to close it, right? And this is very, very consistent with the failure case from the Philippines that we actually found in my chapter for the global report. In Philippines, there is a city called Palayan City in Philippines. There, what happened was very, very similar to what happened in Bangalore, because there was a landfill site close to which there were a lot of residents who were living, and they started complaining of unhygienic consequences for them because of the dumping of all the city's waste over there, and they did a lot of protest on the streets of that particular town, and then they got the government to reverse that order. So this is definitely not a best practice study, but a worst practice study, right? So you plan for your cities well, you plan for where your landfill site will be located, which is far enough from your place of residence. And segregation. See, actually, I showed you a slide on Kerala's high literacy rate. So how is it that Kerala can make use of segregation? How can it use its high literacy rate? With the use of information and technologies, information and communicative technologies. For example, we are doing a project for the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, the Total Sanitation Campaign, and there IEC plays a very big role. I think that it should play a very, very big role even in solid waste. And I think people are not educated about how to go about segregating waste, dry and wet and source, and how to go about doing it. And yet another solution is to basically reduce the amount of waste that you use by reducing, recycling and reusing, right? And this is my last slide. So there is one financing. So I did say that financing is a very big problem, but how do you go about fixing that? I was in a workshop recently last week in Ahmedabad, and there were a lot of mayors from towns in Sri Lanka. Whenever I think of Sri Lanka, I always remember Kerala, because there are so many similarities, and they are both high on the Human Development Index. And those towns, those mayors were saying that the salaries of all those workers who are employed in solid waste management, they come from the central government of Sri Lanka, not from the municipality. Whereas in Indian cities, the cities have to pay them salaries which counts as O&M expenditure, and with the result that they cannot spend much on capital expenditure, which is really necessary to make our cities clean. So that is one way out for the government of India to finance the salaries of all these Paura Karmikas or the solid waste management workers, sanitary workers. And yet another solution is that the conversion of waste to energy based on the organic composting, and for this segregation is a must, and that has to be practiced, and that has to be taught through IEC. And a very big role that community participation played is also not to be ignored in states like Kerala, where the participation of NGOs, I think the women self-help groups called Kudumba Shri, which were very active in making the cities clean. In 2004, I think Kozhikode was declared as India's first litter-free city in 2004. So I think the way in which it happened was as follows. There were a lot of auto drivers who doubled up as solid waste management workers as well, and did this job. And the institution, the funding arrangement was that the Ministry of Environment and Forests, along with the Kerala State Pollution Control Board and the city of Kozhikode, did the funding with and citizens also contributed about 30 rupees a month for this. So that is another innovative way of doing this. And the Ministry of Urban Development is also in the business of designating certain centers of excellence with respect to urban governance, and the Center for Environment and Development Trivandrum was also designated as one center. And I mean, just mere designation of a center of excellence doesn't really mean much, but it has to encourage a lot of research, secondary research, and also fieldwork research to generate good practices and worst practices, what to avoid. And see, information revolution is yet another very interesting way in which we can solicit better solid waste management practices. I'll just quickly give you the example of one project which we have initiated at Public Affairs Center. This is called the ELVA project. See, for example, someone was talking about the mobile phone revolution. Everybody has a mobile phone. You have SMSs, and everybody can receive SMSs. So simple things. We are initiating a project at Public Affairs Center to solicit about 100 respondents and ask them what is their level of satisfaction and what is the regularity with which solid waste management is being practiced in their ward or neighborhood. And they can say a yes or a no, and it's just a pilot project, and the information revolution makes it really very easy for the government to solicit feedback on basic services like this to make it happening, to understand what are the problems here. And based on whatever work I've done so far, I also think that better coordination between departments like health, sanitation, pollution control board, the water supply sewerage department, the municipal administration department will help to make our cities really clean. Thank you very much for this opportunity, and if you have comments or questions, I would appreciate it now. I don't know what the session chair would say, but I have to leave at 4, so you can, I make the floor open for discussion now.
The analysis done through research, Kerala is well placed in terms of coverage.
Correct.
And also other social indicators are always very strong.
Correct.
So, but despite the fact that these good indicators, etc., we are grappling with this problem. Now, as you rightly pointed it out, who are the main contributors? In Kerala, 48% comes from household waste. Another 20% comes from commercial establishment. So therefore, primary focus for solid waste management should be on these two broad segments.
Right.
Now, if we have to bring the focus to these two broad segments, what are the strategies which one need to deploy? Because then it has to be some kind of a decentralized mechanism, whether that is going to work,
right,
or whether anywhere in other cities it is working.
Right.
So we will appreciate, in fact, with further research or I think experience what you may be having or your institution, whether there are any such models which have been
right
developed.
In an article, I keep writing to the Financial Dailies of India. In an article I wrote sometime when the IPL, the Indian Premier League, started, that RWAs, Resident Welfare Associations, should be the fulcrum of activity with respect to solid waste management. See, for example, if in the case of Kerala, it is indeed the case that it's the households which are the major contributors, you have to have this information and education campaigns, communication campaigns, like we do in sanitation. For example, in my own gated community where I live in Bangalore, I led the launch of this segregation of waste into dry, wet, hazardous, construction, like medical and so forth. And you have to educate the residents about the segregation, importance of segregation, and you're in business.
No,
So,
madam, but yeah, that is fine. But the second logical question is that what is the technology we are going to deploy? Whether we will go with a compost, which is a traditional methodology, or second, after segregation, we will take it to the centrally placed, and centrally placed, in fact, it will get further, processed. So there are, linked issues in this.
Right, that is a subject open for further research, but there is a lot of composters, organic composting firms which have cropped up in Bangalore and throughout Karnataka now. So they are teaching individual households, for example, every day the wet waste you generate is probably less than 100 grams, so all the vegetable peels like that, which you can put in a pot and you can just burn it and you can generate energy based on that. So there are a lot of firms which are actually coming to our gated community to demonstrate practices like this. I don't know how it has happened. So based on what I know about Kerala social indicators, this would be very easy to implement in Kerala, because Karnataka's literacy rate, as you probably saw, is actually quite, well below that of
Kerala.
Kerala.
Also, in fact, there is a direct subsidy for putting up this compost plant in societies and also individual households. So
Right.
that is there, and we have spent almost 40 crores for last 2-3 years.
Yeah.
So we are going ahead.
So
But
the,
literacy doesn't mean discipline. So that's what another
Yeah,
issue
right,
is. You could
right.
have a discipline for it.
but I think the preconditions are there. Definitely, that is a precondition,
I think he
necessary,
has
not
a question.
sufficient condition.